Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Did you find the place okay?
I did.
Good. Okay. So I'd like to start by asking you a few questions. Have you ever had therapy with anyone before?
No.
No. Okay. So I'll just let you know a little bit about how this works. So in terms of confidentiality, this is confidential. Anything that we say in this session is confidential. The only thing that would cause me to go outside of this session and speak to anyone is if you had indicated to me that perhaps you were going to harm yourself or to harm someone else. But aside from that, everything in here is confidential. Okay? So since you haven't had therapy before, I'd also like to talk to you just a little bit about what you can expect. So solution-focused therapy, which is what this clinic offers, is it's a brief therapy. So what that means is it's anywhere from 2 to 5 sessions. And the idea is that we focus largely on working collaboratively with each other. And my role is really just to assist you in identifying and solving your problems. Do you have any questions?
No.
For me? Okay. So, what do you think that you would like to? Oh, sorry. One more thing. I will be taking notes if that's okay with you, and I'm just taking the notes so that I can keep track of the important things that are said, so that I can use them later, and we can discuss, what problems you identified and how you think that you might like to solve them. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, what would you like to achieve as a result of this therapy? What's your goal?
Well, I'm living at home, and there's a lot of stress right now because my parents want me to move out. So I'm kind of here because I'm stuck and I need to go forward. And, I'd like to get my own place and get a better job and be more independent.
Okay. And so when you say your parents are pressuring and you're under stress, what does that look like exactly for you?
Well, we're kind of arguing a lot. I guess, I'm 28 and they figure I should be out on my own now. And, I'm only working 30 hours a week at a part-time, 30 hours a week at a minimum wage job. So, I guess they feel like I should be doing more
Okay.
so that I can become independent.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and my sister is married and she has a child and she's on her own, and my other sister's becoming that way. So I think they just want me to go forward.
Right. And so what are your thoughts on moving forward and becoming more independent? How do you feel about that?
Well, I'd like to do that too because I feel like I'm maybe a little. It's all my friends are out on their own. I feel like I'm too old to be living at home.
Okay, fair enough.
But I'm just not sure how to go about it.
Okay, so you're kind of stuck.
Yes.
Okay. So if you had to rate on a scale of 1 to 10 your level of anxiety and stress currently in the house, what would you say that is?
Probably about a 7.
A 7. Okay, so that's pretty high. Okay. And so can you try to tell me what exactly will be going through your mind when things are better? In your mind.
When I have a job?
Yeah, in any way, shape, or form. Just
when I'm independent. I'll just be focused basically on what I'm doing. Like if I'm working or if I'm living on my own. Like, right now, so much anxiety is going through my head because, there's so much stress in the house.
Okay. And if you could scale your level of hopefulness for that stress and anxiety to be alleviated, where does it sit right now on a scale of 1 to 10?
Hopefulness?
Hopefulness, yeah.
I'd say about 4.5.
4.5, okay. Okay. And what about your self-esteem? Where would you put that on a scale of 1 to 10?
About 4, maybe 4.5.
Okay. So we have to get that to move a little bit on the scale. And so how right now are you keeping things from getting any worse? I mean, you're in the house, it's stressful, you've got your part-time job, parents want you to move out, you're sort of stuck in there. How do you keep things from getting any worse? How are you coping?
Well, you know, I stay in my room more,
Okay.
or I go out with my friends, you know, but I can't do a lot because I don't have a lot of money. Um, and so, you know, just stuff like that. Like I think I'm kind of almost avoiding my parents because
Okay.
it's too stressful.
Right. And is that the way you used to be with your parents?
No, before I would watch TV with them, or
Okay.
you know, we used to talk or joke around. Or,
Oh,
yeah, so it's different.
okay. Yeah, that's not good. So you used to sit with your parents, you used to enjoy their company, but now you're going out more with your friends, you're working, and when you're in the house, you're
Sort of going in my room more,
Okay,
like reading,
so
or
just-
just sitting in my room on the computer.
okay. So you're isolating yourself in your home. Okay. All right. Now let me ask you this question: why do you think that your parents haven't just said you have to leave? I mean, because they could, right? I mean, you're 28. What is it about you that has made your parents sort of put the brakes on that, and they're pressuring you? But what do you think that is? What do they see in you that they're not prepared to do that right now?
Well, I just think it's the type of parents they are. Like, they're not going to force me to go out and live on the street, or like in a circumstances that isn't good, you know. But
Why
at
do
the
you think that is? What is it about you? Because a lot of parents do, right?
well, because they love me or they like me.
So you have a good relationship. Do they see anything in you? Do you think?
Well, I think they think that I could do more, and that's why, you know, they're getting on my case about.
Okay.
And plus, it's you know, I am old enough. I should be on my own.
Okay.
Well, I'm capable of being on my own if I,
Perfect.
you know, change some things.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it requires that you kind of think ahead, think into the future. So the question is, if you went to bed tonight and a miracle happened while you were sleeping, and you woke up the next day, and what happened in the middle of the night was all your problems were solved, but you were sleeping, so you don't know that your problems are solved. So when you wake up, what sorts of things do you notice that will tell you, oh my goodness, all my problems are solved? If you can go through that for me and tell me.
Well, I would be on my own in my own apartment.
Okay.
You know, I would have some furniture and food in the fridge and everything. And I would be, you know, getting ready to go to work at a full-time job.
Okay.
And that's probably it. Like,
So can
well,
you
in a better relationship with my parents.
Oh, okay, that's what I
hopefully.
was
Yes.
just going to ask you. So your relationship with your parents is going to be better. What does that look like?
Well, I would spend more time with them, you know,
Okay.
and maybe go over and watch TV or have coffee or something. Like, I would be, you know, I guess that's a word, talking to them more.
You're
Like,
interacting
it would be
a
back
little
to
more,
normal.
Okay.
Wouldn't be the stress. Like,
Okay. And so that's what you would be doing differently. What will your parents be doing differently if they see that this miracle's happened? How are they reacting?
well, I think they would be nagging me less. Like, right now, they seem to be really nagging me about getting a better job and what am I going to do and trying to find an apartment. And
Okay. So I just want to recap briefly before I get too far in. So what I'm hearing is that there is a lot of stress in the home, largely due because your parents are putting some stress on you right now because of your age, and they want you to, think about moving out. The problem for you, as you see it, is that the job that you currently have doesn't pay you enough, and you don't get enough hours to move out onto your own. And that all of that, the fact that that you're still living at home with your parents at your age, and your friends have moved on, your siblings have moved forward, and you're feeling a little stuck, which has had an impact on your self-esteem and how you feel, and it's causing a lot of stress and anxiety. Is that correct?
that's right.
Okay. And anything you need to add to that?
No.
Okay. So you've told me about now this miracle has happened. You're getting along better with your parents. You're working. you have your own space, you're able to pay for your own bills. What are your friends and whatnot? What did they notice?
Well, I think I would probably seem, happier, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would definitely have more money, like,
Okay.
I would be able to maybe go out, we go out on the weekends, but I really don't go out much after that. I don't know, I think they would just think I seemed happier probably, right?
A happier person. Okay. And so, just to further that point, so what would you be doing differently? So now you're sort of hibernating in the room. You're not really interacting much with your parents. You do go out with your friends. Is there anything else that you would be actually doing differently?
If the
This
miracle
has
happened,
happened, yeah.
well, I would be going to work
You going to work?
full time.
Mm-hmm.
I would have my own place. Trying to think of,
Would you feel any differently, do you think?
oh, sure, like I
Yeah,
would
you'd
feel
be happy.
happier, less stress. I think my self-esteem would be up because I would be able to look after myself.
Okay. Where do you think your self-esteem would move to? It was a 4 currently. Where do you think your self-esteem would be at?
Probably a 7.5.
7.5 from the miracle happening and having a job
think
and
so.
whatnot? Okay. And your anxiety was a 7.5. Where do you think it would
Probably
be?
a 3.
Okay. So those things significantly move.
Yeah,
Okay. So as a direct result of you just simply getting a full-time job and being independent.
yeah, that seems to be the big problem that I'm having now.
Okay. What do you think you need to get there?
Well, I need a better job,
Okay.
one that pays more.
Okay.
So I need, to find a way to do that. Like,
Okay.
I'm not sure, like, to get a better job, will I need some training or, what kind of qualifications I need? Because I only stock shelves and I've only been, worked 30 hours a week, and so I don't have a lot of experience.
Right. But you have do you have your grade 12?
I do.
You have your, okay, so you have your grade 12.
Sorry, I got an itchy eye.
So let me just ask you one more miracle question, and that is moving drastically forward 25 years to the future. You're married, you've got children, and you're now in your parents' role. What advice, having been through what you're going through now, what advice would you give to one of your children if they came to you with the exact same problem? You're the exact same thing. They're feeling stuck. What do you think would be some of the steps that you would advise them to take, knowing what you know about yourself today?
Well, I think just maybe figuring out why you're stuck, like,
Okay.
and then
How do
if
you think
it's
they could do that?
well, coming to see a counselor,
Okay.
just writing it down, like,
Okay, journaling.
you know, why they feel stuck,
Yeah. Okay.
maybe talking to friends about it.
Mm-hmm. So they're trying to find a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give them?
Well, I don't know, like, I guess you have to think about what kind of skills you have,
Okay.
and then, go on the internet,
Oh, okay, good.
because there's different
Excellent.
job
Yeah.
sites, right, to help
Mhm.
you find jobs, a
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Okay. So you would encourage them to find out just what kind of skills they have, seek counseling if they need to, whether that be this type of counseling or employment counseling. Maybe go on the internet and see what types of jobs are available. Okay. Anything else that you would advise them?
No, no, I'm not, no.
Okay. So, having said, now that we've had this conversation about, what you feel that you need to do, and it seems pretty clear by listening to you that you know that the problem that you're experiencing, this stress and anxiety, is directly related to the fact that your parents want you to move out, they want you to get a full-time job, they want you to be self-sufficient. But in the same token, that's what you want for yourself as well.
Right.
And this is causing you a lot of stress and anxiety.
Right.
It's affecting your self-esteem. You're scoring it pretty low. So if you had to rate your anxiety level right now, knowing that you've kind of sort of figured some things out, and in terms of what you could be doing, you just recognize that maybe you could go on the internet and maybe you could start researching whether or not you can look for a full-time position, what kind of skills you have, or perhaps future schooling or whatever it is you need to do. Where would you say your anxiety level's at?
Maybe a 6.
A 6. So it's moved. That's good. Okay. How about your self-confidence level, which was a 4. It was a 4.
Maybe 4.5.
So it's moved 0.5. That's good. Yeah. That's excellent. Moving it all. You haven't really done anything yet except for identify the problem. So that's great. What's your willingness to actually work at this? So, for example, when you leave here today and you go home, you've got the week until you come back here. So what would you say your motivation to actually do that might be?
About a 6.
Okay, excellent. Great. 6 is great. Okay. One more question. So when you leave here today, there's 2 things that, if you can, I'd like you to try to do that you've identified. And the first one being, if you could go home and you've got access to the internet and sort of just explore what's out there. Is there a full-time position out there that you're qualified for? Or do you need to do some, upgrading or skills training, and just kind of research that? You don't have to move any forward, just something small, just get it out there. And the other thing I'd like you to do is, or think about doing, is when you leave, I'd like you to try to do something different with your parents. So I know you're spending a lot of time in your room. You guys are doing a lot of fighting. How do you think that their stress level would be on a scale of 1 to 10 if they knew that you were coming here and you were actually looking on the internet and trying to figure this stuff out?
Well, I think it would go down a bit. Like, I think they just want me to, kind of go forward, because I'm not really going forward.
Right. Okay. So those are the 2 things. Do you think those are something that you could do this week without without being too overwhelming for you?
Sure.
Okay. So those are the 2 small tasks. So I just kind of want to recap what we've talked about today. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for coming in, because when you're under a lot of stress like that, that's the last thing that you really feel like doing. And I know your motivation has been low. So I just want to thank you for coming in. That took a lot of strength.
Thank you.
I also just wanted to point out that for you to keep in mind that your parents, obviously, according to you and what we talked about, they have a lot of confidence in you, and they haven't thrown you out of the house. So it's a good thing. It's good support for you, and to keep that in mind moving forward. I think you had a lot of insight today in terms of pretty much being able to lay out exactly what the problem is, particularly after the miracle question and whatnot. So I just wanted to point that out to you today.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you next week, Kai. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.